Hello and welcome to Monday Musing 33, and tonight I am going to be musing about how to get your hobby organised. This is kind of an extension of the show from last week, where I was talking about getting sort of your army ready for tournament and getting tournament ready, or just, preparing yourself, if you like, in terms of building an army. And there was a few things that came up in that chat that kind of led me to go on to, what else can we organise around us. It was interesting to see the reaction on the community as soon as I put this show up, because everybody was like, I don't want to be organised. So there you go. Maybe there's something about creative mess. But, we'll see when we get there. Tonight, I am actually joined by Luke, who's not on camera, though, because he's actually doing some hobby next to me. Do you want to kind of squeeze in there, Luke, and say hello?
Hello.
So there's Luke. And Luke is staying with me for the week. He's a house guest, because he's working in the area, and you're going to crash with me, aren't you, for a week? So we're hoping to try and get some battle reports in this week as well. So I think if we can get like 2 games done this week in 40k, you've brought with you
Grey Knights.
So it'll be Grey Knights versus, don't know at the moment. Maybe Death Guard, maybe Eldar, maybe Tyranids. Don't know. But we're going to try and get a couple of bat reports done. What are you working on? Chuck me that. I want to show the community this stuff, because it's just mental. Look at this beautiful beast. That's just incredible, isn't it? And I'm really simultaneously excited and upset by this, because the 40k rules for this, you can only actually give this to Marines. Loads of people saying hello, Luke. So you can only give this to Marines, which I was really hoping it was like Imperium, Astra Militarium, in which case I could have stuck one in my Gene Stealer list. I still think I'm going to get one and paint it like my Gene Stealer dudes, because it's just beautiful. It's perfect.
It's amazing,
and it will look really cool. On my little Zone Mortalis table, imagine that just blocking a corridor. So it's probably going to be a scenery piece, or we just use it and forget the faction words that came with it, because if it's just friendly matches, who cares? But that's just amazing. If you haven't seen that, it's available. Is it now? It's available now on Forge World, isn't it?
Yeah,
and how much is it? £75 bargain. Look at how much you're getting for £75. Oh no, I broke it, Luke.
They're magnetised.
They're magnetised. Okay then. I thought I broke Luke's model. Right, okay then. So Luke's sat next to me. No, he'll probably not be able to he'll probably have one and not be able to keep quiet, will you? Who knows? We'll see. But you're welcome to chat along as well. Are they your magnets, or are you using my magnets?
They're mine.
Okay then.
I brought my own stuff.
Luke's just piled in here and started shifting around, using my tools, trying to steal my spare parts, all sorts of nasty stuff that's going off here. But that is not what tonight's show's about. I think tonight's show is going to be a show of 2 halves. The first half, as I did before, the first 30 minutes, let's focus on the main subject, which is getting your hobby organised. Looking for hints and tips, please, at Wargamer Online, into the comments, and give us your tip for getting organised in the hobby. I've got a few subjects to talk through. We'll do that in the first 30 minutes, so it's nice and short and people have got the information they need. And then the diehards can hang around for the last half hour, where we'll probably have a little bit of a look, and maybe Luke, maybe you can shout in on this when we come to the 40k FAQ.
Yeah,
because you've been playing a lot of 40k lately. You're actually a 30k player more than anything, aren't you? So, he'll definitely have a little bit of a chat, maybe later, about what the FAQ means. Luke has a history of tournament playing as well, so you can't help but be competitive, can you, Luke? So we'll have a chat about what the FAQ means for everyone. I've got most of the FAQs down, or at least half of the FAQs down. I've had a quick scan read through them all. I think I've already posted up on the community Facebook page the most significant changes, I think, that were discussed in the live video that they did. So yeah, we can have a butchers at that later. Right. Oh, check out my t-shirt. Let's get on to getting organised. So, as I did last time, I've not done a big presentation or anything like that, but what I have done is group it. I think. Look at Luke sneaking on the corner there. I like that. Little tiny Luke. Why are you like a third of the size of me? That's not even a camera trick. That's just a tiny Luke. Okay, right, come on. Get Whoa, what's happening there? There we go. Right, we're on now. That's Luke messing with my head. Look, he's just completely messing with my head. Yeah, while we're here, we'll talk a little bit as well about some of the stuff I brought back from Salute as well, but we'll have a bit of a chat about that later. First and foremost, getting organised in the hobby. So I've broken this down to, I think, 6 key pieces of advice, areas, etc. So let's jump into this and then we'll catch up with the chat. I haven't mentioned the chat, by the way. There's a whole bunch of people in the chat. Thank you very much for joining me tonight. I can see people hitting the @Wargamer Online, which is awesome. We'll get round to answering those questions and we'll go from there. I love Derpimus Maximus' advice on getting organised. Observe Derpimus Maximus and then do the opposite. So there you go. Good piece of advice. Right, let's start with some of the stuff. Like I say, this is driven a little bit about the last video, but also about what I've been busying myself with in the weekend around Salute and all the rest and what I've been trying to do. So first and foremost, keep your space tidy. Now, this is a lie. Even I don't keep my space tidy. What I tend to do is to have this inter-project tidy up, and I think that's realistic. I think when you get elbow deep in resin and paint and all the rest, it's pretty hard to keep on top of the stuff, partly because the hobby is one of those things that you sink the hours into. You usually paint in an evening until your eyes are falling, closing, and you just fall asleep at your desk, and at that point you crawl yourself off into a corner and go to bed. And it's pretty hard to be incredibly disciplined to tidy up at the end of that session, unless you are hobbying in a temporary space. And I've got some tips for temporary hobby spaces later. But if you've got a dedicated space, chances are you're just going to let that hobby detritus build up over a project. So my advice is, be realistic. You're not going to be tidying the space up constantly, but do at least inter-project. So as you complete one project or you complete a stage of a project, I tend to do all my building. I'll have a building session where I get the army built, or the majority of the army built, and that way the tools on my desk are all scalpels and files and glues and magnets and drills and all the rest, and all the stuff that you do when you're magnetizing and building your models. And I get that building done, and then I will have a massive tidy up. All of those construction tools go away. As soon as I'm at the priming stage, all of that construction stuff goes away. All of the bits of resin, plastic, sprue, all of that gets tidied up. And and if I'm feeling particularly driven to get organised, I might even clean the sprues down as well, which we'll talk about shortly. But get all of the building stuff away, have a big tidy up, make the desk clear, get everything out for the next stage painting, and that way you've had that sort of inter project tidy up, if you like. If you're kind of overlapping multiple projects, I think you tend to have all of that build up on your desk. If you've got something you're building on one side, something you're painting on the other side, then what tends to happen is you end up with paints all over the place. You end up with your scalpels, your tools, and all the rest, and then you end up with if you're filing the resin and plastic, that's getting all over your painting surface as well. It's just not a good idea. Just try and segment your activity, I think, and that's a good way of keeping the space tidy. Right, next up, get your bits in order, and Luke's a big fan of this one. We were chatting about this. I talked a little bit there about moving from build to painting, and I talked about cleaning down the sprues, and I do tend to do this because, I'd got to the stage where I think I got 3 or 4 large cardboard boxes full of sprues, and in the end I just had 2 solid nights, and it sounds like a lot, but honestly, out of your entire hobby calendar, 2 solid nights isn't that big a deal. I sat with the snippers, I snipped everything out, and I put them into some really cheap plastic trays, little compartment trays that I got from eBay, and 3 whole cardboard boxes, and I'm talking big storage boxes, went down to about 7 trays, 7 little plastic trays that got tidied away on the shelf. And I did a tray per army, so if I know I'm looking for an Eldar piece, I can go into that little piece, and I put like heads together, weapons together, and just I'm not putting separate like all the different weapons. I know that if I put all my spare weapons in one part of the tray, then it's not that big a deal just to root through there with a pair of tweezers and go looking for the spare part I'm looking for. But invariably, that's how I kind of do it. Sam Stocks has just put Luke raids everyone. I have a resupply going through. So there you go, Luke. You got a reputation of raiding people's bits trays. Pretty much just Sam's bit trays. Yeah, he's already been looking through my stuff, Sam. Honestly, I've been trying to get some spares off him, and you should have seen the face he pulled when I was like, "Can I have that one piece?" And he was like, "Oh, no." So yeah, get your bits organised, get them in trays, get them off the sprues, because you can save yourself a huge amount of space. Again, if you can have the discipline to do it as you go through. So as soon as I finished the build on the Genestealer Cult, I went through the remaining sprues, put them into a single tray, and it was about 8 inches by 8 inches. A little storage compartment tray thing. I think I paid 99p each off of eBay, something like that at the most. And I bought packs of 7 or 8 of them. Actually, no, it was from a pound shop. So those of you who are not in the UK, you might have something similar like a dollar shop, maybe. I don't know. But I picked these things up for £1. At the end of the Genestealer Cult, snipped all of the weapons off, all of the heads off, all of the spares off. Miscellaneous. You've got to have a miscellaneous section. Put it all in there. Tidied all that away. The sprues went in the recycling. I don't think you can, but I think I put them in anyway just in case. And then tidied everything away, and I was ready to move on to painting. Right, okay, I'll tell you what, before we move on to the next stage, let's have a quick look at what's going off in the chat. So what have we got going off in the chat? Let's have a quick catch up. So a big hello to everybody who's joined me as well. It looks like Sam's in the chat as well. Jim Wilson, Reaper, Daryl, Al, Coleman. Oh, if I've missed anyone, Johnny Rockstar's in there saying good evening all. Killboy V2's in there as well. Mark Potter's in. Scott is in there. Derpimus Maximus. Alt Boys is in there. And that's just to name a few. There's a whole bunch of you in there. So thank you very much for joining me. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Reaper says, buy one and have it as stolen merc. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to get one, definitely, and use it inside. I mean, you can certainly use it in narrative play, can't you? That's the whole thing. We were just saying that there's, my Genestealer Cult is a mining colony, so you're telling me they don't have mining equipment like that? They definitely have mining equipment like that, so that's what I'll be doing. Right, okay. Kilroy V2 says, Sam Stocks, do you think Wargamer Online will ever start to do drop zone / fleet commander? I'm not sure whether Sam's answered that or not. Sam had to steer me away from it at Salute because he knows I'm a big fan of the models. I love the aesthetic. Never say never, but right now where we're at with the channel, and we're still growing, and there's only a limited amount of hours in the day, if we've decided what the focus is for this year. So no, probably never say never, because I think we probably would get around to it if we get to a point where there's more of us helping out and more of us producing content. Then I would definitely want to look at Drop Zone Commander. It's the kind of game and it's the kind of models that I really like, but no plans immediately, but I would love to get into it. Okay. Derpimus Maximus says, tip for getting organised. Oh, I've already covered that one, sorry. Reaper says, I get organised by doing all the menial stuff and then treating myself something, e.g. building a dread or doing a special figure. Keeps me sharp. Well, that is a good point. That motivation. Talked about that in the last one about getting your army done, is about allowing yourself little victories in there, isn't it? I'll do this unit of 20 and then I'll allow myself to paint a Magmadroth or something like that, or go out and buy that model I've always wanted, etc. So good idea. Keep yourself motivated. Scott says, hi guys, Mantic has a tunneler for less money and it's plastic. I've not seen that actually. I might have to check that out. But I have to say, is it still gluing? Have you just glued something
I just
new?
green stuff in it.
Just look. What are you green stuffing, Lou?
The gaps.
You don't need to green stuff this. It's amazing. Anyway, right, I'll let you get back to it. I've seen his green stuff in. That's why I was worried about him sticking green stuff all over it. Okay. It looks like Sam answered the question anyway for Kilroy V2. Luke, Sam Stocks warning me about Luke raiding my bits. Ralph says, tidy spaces are for woozies. Creative chaos rules. Outwar Gaga online, and which why it didn't show up in my comments. But thanks there, Ralph. Wes 80 is in saying good evening. Gollum Duck is saying hey ho. Simon Key is in there. Dissolve oat sprues in acetone to make a glue or filler depending on mix. You know what? That's something I did years ago, and I haven't done it in a long time. It makes like a plastic paste, doesn't it? Good idea. Good idea. Really nice idea. Coleman congratulating Gollum Duck on his nickname, which is very, very cool, by the way. Gollum Duck, thank you very much for joining us. Derpimus Maximus, I have several generic bit spots, although box is a bit of a misnomer. One is an old plastic Ferrero Rocher box, and I have a spray can lid full of guns and a bunch of other random stuff. Anyway, I think we're starting to get a sense of what's going off at Derpimus Maximus's house when he talks about getting organised. Right, I'm not quite sure what's going off there. You can't beat sprue glue at Simon Key from Old Boys. There you go. I'm definitely going to have to make some then. Steve Smallworld is in saying hello to Kablams, and Kablams was saying hey also. Sorry Kablams, I missed you there, mate. MCM 1960 in is too many games, too little time. Well, we'll talk a little bit about focus at some point, no doubt, anyway. Right, what's the next stuff there? I was thinking on the list of things in terms of getting organised. Make a list, and don't just make a list, make many lists. Again, we talked about making an army list, which is one piece that's relevant, definitely. Sort of deciding what you're trying to build. But I do make other lists as well. I mean, if I can show you this, let me see if I can show you this. There you go. Can we get this on there? So here's my Tyrannid painting list. So I don't know whether that's going to zoom in a little bit. There you go. I'll zoom in a little bit. But as you can see, I've got my Termagants. I've got a Ripper Swarm to do a Spore Mine, a Hive Tyrant with wings, 2 Tyrannoflexes, a Hive Tyrant, a Tyrannocyte, a Hive Crone, and something from Forge World that I couldn't remember the name of. And I still have some stuff that's on belt. Saying that, you know what? I actually finished that Shrike Brood. So that's done. And in fact, I painted the Gene Stealers and the Broodlord as well. So strangely enough, not only did I build those, I painted those. That, for me, is my entire... That sums up what is remaining to be done on 4,500 points of Tyranids. So I've already done 3,000 points. So if you're looking at that list and thinking, hey, you crazy man, that's way too many to do, I've actually motored through most of those. The good news is as well with the Termagant, with the Flesh Borers, and the Termagants with Spinefists and Devourers, they are pretty much 99% painted. They need some work on their bases, and they're done. But make that list. Make the list in terms of scenery pieces and those kind of things. I think being able to organise yourself into knowing where the end is helps with motivation, but it also helps you focus on what you're trying to get done and in the order you're trying to do. Okay, whatever next. Well, this kind of comes with a list, really. Make a schedule. I don't think, or a schedule, depending on where you are in this wonderful world that we live in. I know that some are schedules and some are schedules. I'm old school, so I say schedule or schedule. I don't know what I say, actually. I think I use both. They're interchangeable. This is important for me, I think. My hobby time is limited to, only so many nights a week. And in between that, I've got channel stuff to do as well. I think it helps when, I talked in the army, getting your army done, talking about having a deadline. But I do think having a schedule, I want this done by this time, I want this done by this time, that helps you understand when you've finished, I think, to a degree. And I'm really talking about trying to be organised to get things completed. This is about being a completer finisher and not a starter, which I think... I dare say there's a lot of hobbyists out there where we're all massive starters. We've got loads and loads of ideas, loads and loads of projects on the go simultaneously, and the reality is very few of them actually get to completion. Part of running the channel, I need to be far more organised in actually getting stuff done. It's not about starting projects, it's about completing projects. So for me, I know I've got the Fire Slayers to finish, I know I've got the Gene Stealers to finish. If I do that, I've got 2,500, 3,000 point armies that are usable on the channel that I can just get on with it. So I really the idea of planning out the next few weeks and understanding when I'm going to finish what by when and when I'm going to make time to make that happen is really important to me. I have to say, the last couple of weeks have just been a mess. I've had quite a few review products come through, and we'll be talking about those as the weeks go on. And one of the review products, it requires a serious commitment of our time to actually get it done as well. And we've spoken to the guys who've made it. They're just launching their Kickstarter. Expect to hear a bunch of stuff on this over the next few weeks. But it's a huge task even to get to the point where we can show it as a reviewable product. The good news is it's terrain, and there's enough terrain in there to do an entire 6x4 table. So it literally is a review, but by the end of it, we're going to have an entire playable surface over this. So it's pretty cool, pretty excited. More news to come on that later, but that's going to take some work, and at the same time I need to get my fire slayers done. At the same time I need to edit battle reports for the channel and all the rest. So for me, that schedule's pretty important, knowing when I'm on what. I can come into the studio and I know tonight is about getting this done. Ooh, Tom Sewell's just subscribed. Thank you very much, Tom. Okay, right, whatever next. Yeah, keep it real, or keep it realistic, if you're not so street cred. I think that's important as well, is just being realistic about what you can get done in the time you can get done. That might be about realistic in terms of the finish you can achieve, and I'm not talking about your capabilities again, I'm talking really about being organised in the time you've got available. It might be realistic about the size of the army you're aiming for. It might be realistic about how many nights you can put into the hobby and how much time you can put into the hobby. And the reason I say be realistic is because I think in that is motivation. If you set yourself lots and lots of unachievable goals, I'm going to have this 3,000 point army done in a week, and you don't achieve those goals, after a bit the setting of targets become redundant, because you're setting yourself things that you weren't going to achieve anyway, so they don't have any relevance. I think if you can make it realistic, you can make what you're trying to get done realistic, then it actually acts as a motivator that keeps you going. Right, okay, whatever next. I'm just reading one of the comments there. Big Mac Danskill says, is it ironic that you're talking about being organised and I'm running around the house looking for a knife because I've misplaced the last one I used, probably under a huge hobby pile? Yeah, I think that pretty much comes under the sense of irony. Daryl says, anybody else look at the big IKEA display cabinet and realise that one wasn't enough? I might have a buying problem. Yep, I've got two of those, so yep, I know exactly what you mean. Okay, what else next? Oh, I think actually I'm not doing too bad for time. It's 22 minutes. I want to go through the chat and have a little bit more about some of this stuff. So I think this one for me is a really useful one, is make a project box/tray. If you can get yourself organised to the point where you're getting a project done from start to finish, put it aside as a finish, and then moving on to your next project. And bear in mind that might be, when I talk about a project, I talk about the thing that you're committing to get from beginning to end on. So, like for me, to finish my fire slayers, so I'm not talking about the overall fire slayers, but to finish my fire slayers, I know I've got 42 infantry to build, to paint, and I've got 3 magmadroths to do. So there you go. That's my completion, if you like. That's my everything. So if you get a project box or tray, I think this acts as 2 things in terms of being organised. One, containing that space for tidying away, for keeping on top of the workspace is really useful. If there's a tray that the unit's on and you can put that tray away onto a shelf or something like that, or I say a box because one of the things we were talking about with Sam, I think this is a really nice idea. He's got some plastic storage boxes he used to put his army in. I think he posted some photos up on the community group. So this is a plastic storage box, and in the bottom of it was a sheet of metal, so his magnetized bases were in there, and essentially it was a really cost-effective form of storing your models. I was saying actually you could invert it. You put the metal sheet on the lid, and then the box comes down over the top. If that metal sheet on the lid becomes your project tray, and you just get to the point where you've had enough and you want to break and you need to do something different, You put the lid back on that box. You can put it to one side, and you know that when you return to that project, everything that you needed for the project, any spares, any magnetized pieces, any half-finished builds, etc., etc., all the parts are in that project tray. So when you want to pick that project back up, you're not like, hey, where did I put the arm? Where did I put the weapon? Where did I put the, the bright lance for this Wraith Lord? It's all in there in a little project box, and you're ready to go again. For me, that's a big one. I have lots of little project trays. I think I've shown you. You've seen my... Are you going out, Luke? You've seen my project tray for my Fire Slayer. So you saw last week how I had the units lined up on it. And moving from one side of the tray to the other, and like I say, the good news is when I need to clear my desk, I pick that tray up, and I've got all I've done with my trays is I've got some little shelf brackets with no shelf on, so I've just got a row of those shelf brackets, and my tray slides on, and everything goes away. So it works really well. I can see Acharya talking about smart objectives. I'm not going to go there because I never lived down that point when I started talking about motivations anyway, and sounded too much like a business speak. So I'm not going to get into smart objectives, Acharya, no matter how many times you post up smart. Oh, look at this. Oh, well, Luke's just gone and fetched his. So this is a project tray. Let me just see. I think I can't tip it, can I, Luke? You would freak out if I tipped it. So let's see if I can actually fit this. Just going to move this stuff to one side. Look at this. So here we go. This is Luke's A project tray. So that just gives you some indication of this is what, a Fat Max Stanley box, which is really actually a nice box. And what's really cute about this is, I'm assuming each one of these little bits come out, do they?
Yeah.
So you can pull out the yellow tray, and as you can see, this is a bunch of crazy Skitarii. It's a unit, and as you can actually see, Luke, thank you for this. This is really helping illustrate my point. So I'm assuming that's a unit, and they're halfway through their conversion, or
they're pinned ready for airbrushing.
Pinned ready for airbrushing. So there you go. And then in here, oh, by the way, Luke, you know what? We should show some.
For Phil to airbrush.
For my airbrush, not for my airbrush, mate. These are really nice. So these are Goliaths. I need a white background. Let's just tip that. There you go. So this is that going to work? No, that's just going to kill the light. So this is Goliaths. But you've converted them as what?
Mechanicum tech rolls.
Mechanicum tech rolls. So you just wanted his tech rolls to be much bigger and much stronger, which I really like. So for those of you. So there's a good example. I mean, clearly that unit's finished. It's ready for airbrushing. He's got it in his little project. This is like a multiple project tray, isn't it?
Yeah.
You're actually pretty organised, Luke. I'm impressed. Got
to be working out of a van.
Well, yeah, you do work out of a van, doesn't it? Yeah, another nice conversion there. Anyway, thank you, Luke. That's great. You're going to have to put that somewhere, though, and I'm not going to tip it up. You can probably go underneath the desk. So there you go. Having that project tray, having that project box, really good idea. You can put stuff away at the end of it. You can keep your desk tidy to a degree, and that's what's really cool about that. I'm just having a quick look at the chat. Okay, well, we're at past, and I said I'd spend about half an hour just on some quick hints and tips, because I think what I've tended to find, I think some people come along for what the show's about, and they just want me to get that content in and out of the way. So I'm following my format of the main subject taking up the first half hour, and then we'll just go on to a bit of a chat about what's going off in my desk and all the rest, and what people are up to in the chat. If there's any more tips to come in on getting organised, but I'm just going to go back through it all. So remember, folks, let's do a little recap. Keep that space tidy, get your bits in order. What else have we got? Make a list, make a schedule, keep it realistic, and make a project tray. Seriously, do it. That's actually the biggest part, I think, of what I do that helps me keep organised. And I know, for instance, I'm working on a whole bunch of aspect Wraith Lord conversions, and I've got 2 little project trays, which are just little boxes that have been put away, and in there is a flying swooping hawk Wraith Lord, and also a warp spider Wraith Lord as well. So and I know all the parts are there, so when I get time to come back to those projects, I've not got to worry about what did I do with that little piece of conversion and stuff like that. Get your bits in order. Right, okay. Whew, what else has been going off? Well, if nobody's got any more comments in the chat, I wanted to have a little bit of talk about some of the stuff I picked up at Salute, and then we were going to have a look at what's going off with the 40k FAQ. So, right, Reaper says, just find something that fits you. I have separate areas for separate areas, e.g. a paint area and a build area. Well, that's brilliant. If you've got the space to do that, that's absolutely brilliant. I tend to, you have to remember, my hobby space is divided. It's divided between my space, and in my space I've got all of the broadcast stuff for the YouTube channel, so I've got my computer and everything else like that. I've got my painting area, which is also my build area. At the back of that area I've got an extractor fan for my airbrushing, so literally all of my stuff takes place on this one desk here. But my extractor fan is here. I've got lighting, my airbrushes are here ready to go, my compressor is under the desk, so I try and keep everything off the desk that I don't need, so like compressors and all that lot go underneath the desk, which just gives me as much room as possible. Oh, bless the Alt Boys. The Alt Boys has just donated £10. You should sell your thimble paint holders. Thank you very much, mate. I didn't talk about those much today, but yes, I really do love these. I have to say they're my favourite thing, my favourite little invention for painting. And maybe I should sell them. I'll at least, you know what I might do is I might print about 40 of them out and do them as part of the premium subscriber giveaway, so someone can have 40 thimbles along with us, and have them all magnetised, ready to go, and everything else. Right, okay, and thank you very much for that, Alt Boys. You're awesome, mate. Reaper28, I've covered that one. Daryl says, my biggest hobby tip is never show the wife the hobby cupboard. And then when she says, when did you get that box of models, you can tell her, it's been in my cupboard for ages. I think that is an excuse that works for any gender, and for any purchase, to be honest. Amit's doing his bit of trying to get people to go along to the website and check us out and look at battle reports. Oh yeah, new premium battle report went up, which was Sam and Mike, the return of Mike. And the good news is the next battle report is already edited and ready to go up. So the idea of we were trying to get to a point with the technology and all the rest that we could actually do these things faster is certainly paying off at the moment, because I have never ever been able to do more than one battle report in a week, and last week I actually managed 2. That other one will be going live at the weekend. We'll talk a bit more about battle reports. I think there's some sacrifice in there. I don't think the camera quality is as good as the offline stuff. I don't think it's bad, it's just not as good, I think, in hindsight. But I don't think the camera quality is necessarily what everybody's along for. As long as they can see the models and watch the overall thing, I think that's probably just as good. And also, it's not something that has to stay the way it is. I think we can work to improve that as well. I'm working every day to kind of get the quality up. And in fact, actually, I've even been writing a bit of software. There you go. So that's how crazy it's getting over here. Talk about those Spectre miniatures on your desk. Where did you pick up a rule book? I want to play Insurgents. Oh well, look, you're getting ahead of yourself now. Peninsula painting projects. As I'm watching this, I'm looking at my hobby room and trying to organise it. Well, go for it, Peninsula painting projects. Great name, by the way. I love the Iteration, I think it is, isn't it? Iteration. Peninsula painting projects. Yeah, it is. So love that. Great. As much of that as possible, please. Please go ahead and show us those AK ice particles. Look, I was really desperate to see what was on my desk, so let's just do that. What's on my desk? Okay. Ignore those. I found those out. They were from an old Games Workshop bag. And I was thinking what I could do with them. I'm sure I could do something with them, but they're really nice, aren't they? Gollum Ducks just subscribed. Thank you very much, Gollum, man. Thanks for subscribing. That's awesome. Right, what did I get from Salute? Well, Resin Ice, AK Interactive's Resin Ice. It's pretty intriguing stuff. I mean, I'm not 100%. I need to do a product test on it. By the way, I've purchased these, so none of this is... all of this was paid for with my own pennies, so none of it's sponsored content, if you like. It looks pretty much like clear resin, I think. So I think at least that and that. It's quite a thick clear resin, so I'll give it that. There's a gloopiness going off, so it's not like liquid water, if you know what I mean. It's a little bit stiffer. But that looks like 2-part clear resin. But there is one other ingredients in here. We've got this little thing, this ice surfacer, and I think that's what kicks in there. And I have no idea what that is at the moment. But I'm going to be trying it out. I will definitely do a product review for it. We're going to be looking at doing some bases and stuff like that. But I think that was about £22, something like that. It's not the cheapest thing, but the effects look amazing. If the box artwork is anything to go by, the effects you can achieve. I really love this deep sort of cloudy ice. It's definitely worth it. I think that's a hard effect to get. So yeah, I'll let you know how we go with that. But to accompany that, I also had to buy these ice sparkles, and I really like these. Jack's working on a whole bunch of Beast Claw Raiders at the moment, and he's working on snow bases, and I kind of bought it for him, but I have to say I also kind of bought it for myself. I'm wondering whether I can even show this. Crikey, is that going to zoom? Is that going to focus at least? There you go. So, oh, there you go. You know what? That's not bad, is it? So you can see it's basically got that sparkle. For those of you who have ever seen snow at sub-zero temperatures, if you've ever been up the mountains at minus 10 degrees and stuff like that, the snow surface gets that lovely sparkly effect. Where the powder is sort of, the water's frozen in the air and formed a fine powder, and then it sparkles as you move past it. I think it's really lovely. It's really nice. So I'm looking forward to using that. And again, we'll no doubt, as part of all the snow bases, cover that on one of the videos, either as a tutorial or just as a product review to see how those things go. We'll do a little bit of that. Oh, what's going off? I've spilt my sparkles. Oh, Luke. Right, the next thing, I'm going to leave that to last because I know that Amit really wants me to talk about it. I was pretty excited. Met the guys from Green Stuff World who have also sent me the colour changing metallics to review, which is fantastic. But I actually bought this. I was too excited. He did say if you wanted some to review, I could have had it, but I also don't mind buying stuff anyway. And I was pretty excited about this. If you've not seen the tutorial of how to do this, essentially you put this spider serum through an airbrush. It creates a cobweb effect. You can use all sorts as a framework. You can use perspex rod or even fishing line and stuff like that to create like larger strands, and then all of this sticks to it. And then this is just a cleaner, which I strongly suspect is just some heavy duty spirit based or alcohol based cleaner. But I didn't want to take the risk of isopropanol not cleaning it out the brush or something, so I went with the official one. And you know what, for something like €3.50 each, who cares? It was definitely worth it. So the only thing is, I got that really excited about it and realised I don't do death at all, but Jack does his ghouls, so maybe on his vampire dragon base or something like that we can do some kind of spidery cobweb effects and have a look at that. I was mainly just intrigued by the product and really wanted to try it out. And
could you not do it on like Eldar masks?
What, the cobwebs?
Yeah,
I suppose you could. Yeah. All right. I wanted to mention this. This was the model that came with Salute. It's absolutely awesome. It's a little mini, tiny 3-model diorama. If you haven't checked that out, get onto Salute's website anyway and check out that. It's beautiful. Beautiful little model. Amazing gift to get in the goodie bag at Salute. You always get cool stuff. That's great. But my other little fantastic find of the day, met the guys from Spectre. So Spectre Miniatures. Just amazing. No, Amit, I didn't get the rule book. We had a flip through it. I've got this model. We're going to keep in touch with each other basically. I bought this though. Again, it's not been provided for review or anything like that. I just absolutely love the unit. It's a little special forces unit along with Lola. Lola's in there, and I have to say it was the Lola dog. That literally does look like my cute German Shepherd, so had to get that. And I think Jack's going to paint those up as well. He's a big fan of the models. He was the one that spotted those models. The whole game looks really, really intriguing. They've done all the world leaders and stuff like that as models as well, which I think is a brilliant idea. And more importantly, Like I say, I'm sure if I'd have pested enough, I probably could have got some review models, but I was happy to buy them because, they're a small company. The guy who's hand sculpting these is a genius. He's doing beautiful work, and we met the people from Spectre Miniatures, and they were all brilliant. The couple on the stand was fantastic, really good information, really clearly into the hobby, and absolutely they deserve a bit of support. So I'll be doing that, and no, we won't be covering it, I think, on the channel. We might, you might see a demo game or something like that if we can arrange something like that. But for now, that was just a little personal thing that I wanted for myself. So there you go. Right, I've got crystal snow ice sparkles everywhere now, so my mouse is not working properly. Let's catch up with the chat, and then let's have a quick talk about the 40k FAQ, which is good. I think we're going into the last quarter of our 15 minutes of the show by the time I get through the chat, I think. And then maybe, Luke, if you can stop hacking away at resin parts, and we can have a little bit of chat about the FAQs and what we think to them. What have we got? A whole bunch of chat, and it's jumped up as well, which it always does, doesn't it? Whoa, here we go. Oh, Skegatron, hello and long time no see. Hope you are well. Yes, I am, Skegatron, and thank you for joining us, man. It's good to see you again. Amit's getting people onto the WGO Chronicles. Scott saying, shows your booty. I've showed the booty. That was everything. That was everything I purchased. I've got some ice resin, some cobwebby things, and some sparkly stuff. And the only models I bought were the Spectre Miniatures unit. That was part of me being organised. I've got plenty on the hobby desk right now, and although there was a million things there I wanted to buy, I was pretty good. I was really focused on what I wanted and what I needed to get done. So there you go. That was organising my head, not adding more to the wall of shame, or the shelf of shame, or the cupboard of shame, or the car boot of shame. I've seen them, all of those things. Where are we now? Peninsula Painting Projects. Thanks, mate. Best name I could think of. That's semi-original. It's awesome, mate. Right. Daryl says Chaos Ninja Star. It does look that way, doesn't it? It's a pretty dangerous bit of kit. This is metal, by the way. It was a pin that went on the front of one of their bags, which I've still got the bag, and I've still got the limited edition little ammo crates that the dice went into. I might resurrect that bag for the 40k tournament. I was sort of saying it's actually a pretty cool bag. Oh, right. Even Ian Stanford says, evening, Phil. Good evening, Ian. Thanks for joining us, mate. Right. Wargamer Online. Yeah, Phil, is your next project A Song of Ice and Fire Slayers? You know what? I do have a possible big project for the end of the year. You know, I said I wasn't going to choose my last army. There's a good chance I've chosen my last army, but I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Ooh, excuse me. It is a pretty big custom army. Not big in size, but as in a big job. Every single model would have to be... it's a proper SAM, basically. Every single model will have to be messed around and altered. Titan Drop says, came in a little late. Organisation is getting important to me as a new player. I don't have a dedicated game room yet, so for now I really need to figure a way to hold my mini collection, which is growing. Yeah, you know, like I say, I think, you know, I definitely, to start with, went down the KR case route. I think that kind of case is really good for storage more than it is, I think, for gaming transport or tournament. I've definitely discovered that. You know, when we did the tournament and I used the A case, the army was in and out the case in about 4 seconds. It was brilliant to be packed away so quickly and knowing they were safe. But I do have a whole shelf full of KR cases that I've got it in storage. I have to say, the idea of magnetizing the models onto metal trays and storing them in a display case or just in some form of unit, I think is about the most safe, space efficient way of storing. So what Sam's onto with his plastic boxes with the metal sheet at the bottom of the box, I think is a great idea. If you haven't seen that, I'm sure he's talked about those on some of his Saturday shows. So scroll on back there and check out some of his Saturday shows. Hook me up with the info, homie. Oh, Titan Drops. It was the first. I pretty much covered that in the first half hour of the show. I'm trying to think. Can I do you a quick recap? We'll do you a quick recap, and then you can decide whether you want to go back and check it out. So whoa, what's going off there? Look, we talked about getting your space in order, using bits trays and bitbox, making sure that you create these lists either for what you want to do or how you're structuring your project. And I showed some of the painting lists as an example. Get a schedule in place, or a schedule in place, so you know what you're trying to do and make it realistic so you can achieve it. But at least having some forward plan to, if I've got to have this army painted and sorted by the end of the year or by the end of the month, work out what days you've got available to you and all the rest, and get it down on paper. And that way, when you sit down, you don't have to do the thinking anymore. You're just there to do the job. Keep it realistic. So that was about keeping motivated, really. And I think my favourite was make a project box or tray. So there you go. That's a quick, tiny recap just for you. Titan. So feel free to, when this show is over, to pop back and start it from the beginning, and you'll see me talk a lot more on all of those things. Okay, sorry about that to everybody else, but Titan got in late and deserves the quick recap. Aram Dembski, I spilled my sparkles. Awesome Warcraft. That is the Aram Dembski Bowden. Oh man, you don't know how much I love your work. I'm honoured that you're on here, mate. That's absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. I love your stuff. So thank you very much. And I've spilled my sparkles would be an awesome war cry for any army. Probably Gore-Tide. If you can fit that in one of your books, maybe, or maybe not, please don't. Okay, what else have we got in there? Coleman. Oh, yep, it's Coleman saying hello. Dipimus Maximus. Oh, everybody up there with I Bent My Wookie. Oh, dear me. Right, okay, it looks like it's losing it a little bit in there. Emperor's Children's new war cry. You know what? That's great. Ian Stanford says, I must look into Spectre. Absolutely. Beautiful models. Really like it. The game looked really interesting as well, I have to say. The game looked pretty interesting. Both myself and Jack were like, in another year, we'd be all over this. And we probably will be at some point. It just might not be, a big drive on that for the channel right now. Right, okay. Are we covering the subject I mentioned correct later? We may be overlapped, but hopefully that's good. Okay, what about the House of Shame? That's Reaper. So I was talking about the Wall of Shame. Reaper's got a House of Shame. There you go. Perfect. All those models that you never built. That list I showed, by the way, obviously is not only the stuff I've got to get painted, but there was that little divider that says get built. And anything below get built is what I've bought. So that is a list of shame, basically. If I've got stuff that I need to do, it forms a list of shame. So just to kind of go back and show that, I can show you an entire army of shame. How about this? Look, can I do this? Here we go. There you go. Right. Is that going to fit on? That's going to fit on. So here is my painting list. And notice the little unbuilt break at the top there. Solitaires, Death Jesters, Shadow Seers, Troops, Sky Weavers, Star Weavers, Void Weavers. Yep. That is an entire army of shame. One day I will do my Harlequin list. I promise. It won't be today though. Gollum Duck says great stream. Thank you very much. And oh man, it's just absolutely flying now. There's a whole bunch of comments, but I'm looking around the man cave and all of a sudden I have a desire to organise it. Do it, Daryl. Get organised. What I might do is on the forum, I'm probably going to pop some photos up because I've had a big organise, and as you know, we've been working on the live BatRep studio. All of the camera equipment has arrived to convert the main studio over to the point where we'll be able to do live BatReps and those kind of things. Luke knows from my frustrated face, I've been working hard tonight to try and get the computer equipment all up and running as well, so I'm trying to get that up and running at the moment. We will be installing that. I think that's probably going in this weekend, so expect to see more on the live BatReps from the channel. There's definitely a sense, I think right now, is that a lot of the live stuff we might start putting to Twitch just to try and widen the audience a little bit. It's a reasonable enough thing to do. Plus, we know on YouTube, if you kind of spam the YouTube channel with too many shows, what tends to happen is if it's not, it can put people off a little bit. So I think you'll see some of the live bat reports going direct to Twitch. And as we discussed with Premium, the stuff that we record offline, which will be the majority of battle reports, will go on to Premium for a 4 to 5 or 6 week period and then move over to YouTube. So and that's the idea of that, is so people can get a preview of some of the Premium content on YouTube, and then I hope that they'll go along and help support us on Premium as well, which Amit is talking about now. Right, come on, we've got 10 minutes. I think we should be talking about the FAQ. It's the big one, or rather the big FAQ one. Yeah, okay. What was in there? Well, I put a little bit of a recap. There are obviously individually the FAQs ignore that. I was just looking at that because I'm pretty excited about that model. We've got the FAQs. We've got Xenos. We've chapter approved and Tyranids and all the rest. And I've been having a quick look through that, but Games Workshop been absolutely lovely, and I think they've sort of recapped, if you like, for us, or highlighted for us probably the most major changes, and we'll have a little bit of a chat about what that means to us. So, new official match play rules. So this is where they've moved the beta rule for Smite, and they've turned it into an official version, which is cool. And they have tweaked it slightly. It's just adding 1 to the cast value every time you cast it, basically, or every time you go for it. So, to a maximum of 11, and then it stays at 11, and you can just keep doing it if you want, but let's face it, you're only doing it on 11 and 12. There's new organised events guidelines, new beta rules. So I think what was nice is when we talked about this, as soon as I mentioned the Smite thing to you, you were like, oh, that's killed my that was the rule that killed my Grey Knights. Well, not so much now, because the good news is it's the beta rule did punish Grey Knights, but no more. So as you can see, if you have Codex Grey Knights with the Brotherhood of Psykers or the Brotherhood of Sorcerers for our wonderful Thousand Sun counterparts, then you're good. I had a little bit of a hissy fit, not a massive one, about my Warlocks. What's happened to my Warlocks? Nobody cares about the Warlocks. And then there's a real kick in the teeth. They've made the Warlocks higher points as well. So it was a double whammy. But I'm an Eldar player. I'm allowed a degree of salt, aren't I? So there you go. But that's pretty good. What do you think? Do you think that's stopped it getting everywhere? Is that enough? Do you think? Obviously the exceptions for you on... do you want to try and squeeze in at least try and get on camera? What do you think? Do you think it's enough? Because obviously Smite has been spammed to hell in most of the tournament scene, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I think they tended to use that Smite and they started to write lists around it so they didn't have to rely on the Smite.
Yeah.
So I think tournaments kind of are already prepared.
Yeah, because they were already kind of applying the beta rule, weren't they, really? So yeah,
it still helps the game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Okay, targeting characters. This one has been needed. This one was pretty desperate for me, I think, knowing how much it was getting abused. So now this is essentially the new rule for targeting characters. And the biggest difference being is that you can't block a character with another character. That's the main thing, especially if that character was out of line of sight.
Or if you had like a really tanky character, you could just like deep strike in.
Yeah.
And then you could charge unit, consolidate closer to the force, and you can just block it and have loads of other characters not being able to get targeted.
So like your Grey Knight list.
Yeah. So it's hurt me.
It's hurt you. You weren't particularly pleased about that, but let's face it, you kind of needed it, didn't you? I think it does make sense. Right, okay then, more command points. This is nice for someone like me who I think builds my armies more on what I think makes sense. So I do like to see a lot of troops in there. I can't remember a 40k game, 8th edition game I've played where I haven't used the basic detachment. So for me, this was the battalion rather. That I've always used that. I've never kind of created those lists that are just made of elites or just made of heavy and those kind of things. So for me, this was quite nice because we've gone from 3 command points to 5 now, and on the brigade you're moving from 9 to 12. So I'm pretty happy about that. What does that hit your list at all, or?
Well, it just helps you balance your lists. Instead of lists always fluctuating and changing all the time, you can have the basic core that you know you're going to get your 5 command points from.
Yeah.
And you can add around it for like tournaments. I think it'll help people at least use models more than once.
I think you're right, and the move from 3 to 5 is enough, isn't it? I think they didn't kind of need to do any more than that. That's actually enough. It's a significant climb when you think about it to have those extra 2 command points, because there's a lot of stratagems as well that burn 2 command points, and the way I see that is that move from 3 to 5 gives me one of those 2-point stratagems for free. I'm like, yeah, great.
Well, people can now rely more on stratagems. Like 10, you can kind of write lists that we don't really need them.
Yeah, and I mean, and they said in their own broadcast, didn't they, that they saw this as important for promoting these sort of healthy, less elite armies and more focused around that sort of nice structure. Saying that, as they said here, if you play an army like Space Marines or Custodians, you'll know that filling a battlefield role slot in a detachment often involves a significant commitment in points. So the idea of doing that and getting some return from that now is good. So it's cool. Ignore wounds. No more 5 up for my avatar. That's all I can say. But it was probably fair. There was nothing.
Although the avatar weren't that great anyway.
No, 5 up, and the model itself isn't that great. You're absolutely right. I don't get. When I saw the stats for the avatar, I was like, I don't get this. I don't get why you'd ever actually bring it. And it was the 5 up. I thought, you know what, that just about gets him on the table for me. And of course he's lost that now, and I'm like, yeah, he's off the table again as far as I'm concerned. But
I suppose it stops the Electro Priest double save.
yeah. So one less filthy list for you there. I've played Luke against his crazy Electro Priest spam. It was horrendous. So I think, again, another welcome change, and to be honest, I don't think there's anything in this that I don't consider welcome. I'm not particularly happy about the Warlock increase in points, I have to say. Not when you look at them next to a primary Psyker. I just don't understand why I'm paying double now.
You're going to get that with every unit.
I know.
I've got enough good stuff in the book.
I know, but I like Warlocks, and I don't like them at that price. But there you go. Reviewing points. Well, we've moved on to it inadvertently anyway, or at least I've moved on to it with my only 1 sore point. So Rabute Gilliman is now 400 points. It's only 1,500 points more.
15 points, yeah.
15 points more, I mean.
I don't think it makes that much difference. I think he's still auto-take in a good list.
You're right. He's just auto-take, isn't he? I did see on the live show there was a few people hitting the comments like, it didn't need changing, and it's stuff like, dude, it's like 15 points. And yeah, it kind of did, didn't it? Because like you say, at 400 points, he's still an auto-include, isn't he?
Yeah.
Okay, Dark Reapers are up to 12 points as their base, and then you've got to stick the equipment on top, and those launchers aren't cheap, so you see a move from 27 points to 36 points. So for those of you who have been fielding Dark Reaper only lists, that's just about pretty much killed the list, hasn't it? It's killed the list anyway. Well, we'll talk about organised play anyway. But they're still, I think, they're still a viable heavy support slot. I just don't think, and that's what they were always meant to be. They were never meant to be your troop choice, if you like. You could still get away with, 360 points into 10 Dark Reapers would still be pretty potent.
Yeah.
That's a lot of shots doing a lot of good, but, there you go. It's quite a hike when you think that's gone from 270 points to 10 to 360 points to 10, but even so, I don't think there's many people out there that will either, one, not welcome it because they've been up against so many Dark Reapers, or even if you feel Dark Reapers, you probably just accept that bad wind was going to blow at some point soon. It was just, that was going to happen, wasn't it? Okay.
Well, I think they're a bit behind the tournament scene slightly, because Dark Reaper lists started getting beaten by the next.
They were, Hive Tyrants,
and then
who have also had a
Plague
point
Crawlers,
hike.
Next ones.
Plague Crawlers. So there you go. We're seeing more of this. We need to play more 40k, don't we? We do really need to play more 40k. I forgot. It's because I've been so much into Age of Sigmar these last few months. But I do need to get back into pulling out. I'm looking forward to this week as we'll pull out those 40k armies and get some games going. Data sheet rule of 3, so no more than 3 of any single data sheet. So
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, perfect.
So
I even argued. I was discussing with Jack as we were walking the dog this afternoon. I was kind of saying they could have almost gone a step further for me. They could have gone to 2. I mean, obviously, he made the argument. Well, that's kind of that really is probably too punishing on those armies that have got a really limited troop choice option.
Yeah, like Custodes,
and those kind of. I mean, it's a fair point. But I like that because the reason I like that, of course, is I like to see that variation. I like to see nice, armies that aren't just the same model 100 times over. Really like this as well. It's not, it scales. So up to 1,000 points, up to 2 per army, number of detachments, number of times each data slate can be included, 2 per army, and a recommended play size of 4x4. So I think that for me, we're going to, in this studio, going to explore the 4x4 games, playing at 1,000 points, which I've not really done much 1,000 point 40k. You've always taken it to 1,500 points, so you've got that little bit more of an option. But I think it's going to be fun to do some quick 1,000 point games. And then when we go to the other studio, you'll see us doing the sort of 2,000 point, I think, on the 6x4 table. I have to say, the studio is capable of doing 8x4. On one day we might have to do some of the bigger points games, but it's going to be
narrative.
Yeah, that just has to be some kind of crazy live show that goes on for about 10 hours or something. Maybe we should do something like that. That'd be pretty cool. So, right, what else was there? Latest. Oh, and then there was a few beta rules stuck in there at the end as well, which I wasn't expecting, and it's nice to see. It's nice to see them say, you know what, we've got an idea, but we're still not certain about it. So this is Battle Brothers beta, and essentially what this stops you doing is within a single detachment, you cannot use Chaos Imperium, Eldari, Inari, or Tyranids as your faction keyword, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it makes it trying to pick and choose from every army.
Yeah.
Try and make the best.
It was just too broad, wasn't it? That was the thing. You could just create these little crazy something best from every single, army across Imperium. I mean, Imperium as a faction keyword is pretty much 2/3 of the model range, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, okay.
I think it's beta though, because it's not like a big issue of it, like power wise.
No.
Because people tend to try and stick with their army to get their own benefits with the data sheets and all.
Yeah.
And the stratagems and stuff like that. So.
One little bit, just to reassure those people with like Sisters of Silence and Assassins and all the rest. I think there is, you can feel the Vanguard detachment without one. So there's that whole you don't need the HQ in there and those kind of things, which is cool. And a first turn, a better first turn. So. Let's just sum this up. So this was on the live chat. They were sort of talking about these 40k games where by the end of the first term you've lost 2/3 of your army to some kind of alpha strike, super deep strike spam that just bam everywhere and destroys your army. And they're trying to shut that down a little bit, make the game more of a game of 5 turns rather than a game of 1 turn and then 4 turns of mopping up. It was trying to spread that out a little bit, and to do that they've limited. And I'm going to say deep strike, but you know what I mean. Any of those things that enable you to just deploy anywhere on the table. What they're essentially saying is if you do that, you can still do it in the first turn, but if you do it in the first turn, the unit has got to, and this is the real kicker, wholly within the deployment zone. So that essentially what they're saying is just put it on the table. Admittedly, you might be coming down in movement and stuff like that, so your opponent hasn't been able to judge where it's going to go, but they know it's in the deployment zone. That's not a huge area, is it? And like you said, that essentially means you're not really going to do that, are you?
I think you still do it, but you're just going back to 7th rules where your deep strikes come in second turn.
Yeah.
So you can still delay. You're just delaying it a turn.
Yeah, and that's
Just
the
hope
thing
you do
isn't it?
survive.
At least that gives you, as an opponent to sort of a heavy deep strike army, it gives you the opportunity to pick some of it off before it all starts going wrong. Oh, the other point was, and I've not actually read this in there, but it's got to be half of your army on the table as well. And that half of the army, if I remember rightly from the live chat, and you'll have to excuse me, I've not read all of that, I think that is done on PowerPoints. So it's half of your army's got to be on the table. I'm sure.
That was already like that before, wasn't it? Half your army.
Was it?
You could only put half your army.
I think
in
it was
deep strike.
half your army in units though, and you could make a massive difference on that. Now it's PowerPoint.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna have to check that because without actually slowing down the show and reading through that word for word. They certainly mentioned it on the video.
Must be half your army. Power level, yeah.
Yeah, power level.
So it's bringing the power levels into the match play, kind of.
Yeah, which is interesting, and it stops you doing that whole, well, I've got 2 units on the table and 2 units off the table, but the 2 units off the table are like 80% of your army's power. You know, it stops you doing that, doesn't it? Which I think is a great balancing act. And as you said, they're introducing PowerPoints into match play.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, good.
Because it introduces it in a way where you can't abuse it. In a way like you could take a unit as power and then just equip it with all the best stuff for free. So in this way it's saying this unit's more powerful than the other. So yeah, that's good.
That's cool. I don't think we're not going to go through. We're 5 minutes past 10 anyway. This is only an hour show. You're going to be seeing more from us this week. We've got a couple of product reviews that I want to get out. I think Sam is even possibly talking about doing a show during the midweek as well. So look out for that. If not, he's definitely going to be there on Saturday. You may see something from us this week. You may not. I don't know. We might actually do a live back rep onto Twitch or something like that if we get time. So if we do that, we'll give you plenty of links and time to tune in. Plenty of links on the Facebook group and stuff. So if we do that. So yeah, we'll keep you posted on all of that. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Thank you very much for coming along and hitting all the stuff in the chat. Welcome to all those people who joined the chat for the first time, Titan Drops and all the rest. Thank you very much for joining us. And again, it was good to see some old faces in there as well. So all good stuff. There's a few Wargamer Onlines. I just want to pick them up before I go. So Acharya is celebrating the rule of 3 because he can still bring his 3 falchions. That's that horrible massive tank, isn't it? And he's got 3 of them. He actually has 3 of them. So there you go. We can still fit that in with his rule of 3. Ralph says, as an Age of Sigmar player, that part of the show goes right over my head. Bless you, Ralph. We'll get you into 40k one day, maybe. Maybe one day. Come on, Ralph. You could do it. He's got no love for 40k at all, though, Ralph. I know that. Amit's doing his whole bit trying to get everyone to support us and stuff and become a premium member for just $2.99 a month to get a whole bunch more content. So do that, please, because it enables us to do more. What else is going off? There's a bunch of chat at the end there. Check it. Oh, I think all of that is Amit basically telling everybody to come along and join us. So there you go.
Aaron's still on, the author.
He may well be still on. Why? Do you want to
say that Master of Mankind was awesome?
There you go, Aaron Dembski-Bowden. If you are still there, mate, Master of Mankind is absolutely. You know what? I'd agree with you on that as well. It was more than awesome. So there we go. Little bit starstruck. Thank you very much for coming along. We're going to call it a night at that. Luke's around all week, so like I say, that means we might get some battle reports done, which would be cool. You'll see some 40k content for us. Sorry, Ralph, but we need to get some 40k content out there as well. I've been working on a couple of Eldar lists and a couple of Tyranid lists. So yeah, and I know that Jack's been looking at his Death Guard. So, and you've brought Grey Knights. So we should be some good stuff that we get filmed this week. Other than that, good night all. We'll see you again soon. Oh, look at that. Look, I could have switched over to that ages ago. I just left it up on screen and we're a tiny little box. Good night all. Thank you very much for joining us and we'll see you again soon.
See you later.
Oh,
Bye.
Don't forget to check out WGO Chronicles 2018 on the forum, on the website, on the Facebook group. Sam's working like crazy on all sorts of cool armies and get your armies done, get them posted up and we'll see you again soon. Bye.